don't know why, but I just feel like saying, Jonathan. Jonathan. So on behalf of the family and everyone, I want to welcome you and thank you for coming to the Celebration of Life for Jonathan Brookshire. And so today we're not only going to mourn what was lost, but we honor and celebrate what Jonathan has given to us. And you'll see in your programs there that we are going to hear a fantastic meditation by Reverend Renee Earl. And then we'll hear some more of this fantastic music. And then we're going to remember, we're going to talk about his spirit, we're going to talk about his dreams, and the unique light that Jonathan brought into the world. And if you'd like to share some memories about him, your experiences, you can just come on up here to the mic. We're asking that you limit it to 2 minutes, no groups, so just come up here one by one. If you're not able to come up here and you still want to say something, just let us know and Jack will bring you the mic. If you're too shy and this is too formal a setting, you can share also in the fellowship hall where Jack will bring that mic after the service. And so whatever you do, though, I urge you, if there is something in your heart that you'd like to say about Jonathan, this is the time to say it. You don't want to go home and say, I wish I could have said something. So in the end, if you would please let the family exit first and then just follow them out, process out behind them over to the fellowship hall. Now, Jonathan left far too soon, but he really filled the time that he was here with meaning. He was more than the years he lived in his smile and in his laughter. Jonathan was just really an easy guy to get to know. It was just as if he knew you when he was talking to you. He was very warm, very accepting. I didn't know him long, but it seems like I knew him forever when we started talking. He was one of those people. He was a very kind person, and in his kindness there was a quiet strength that, again, made you feel seen. He made you feel valued, right? He never made you feel alone. If I was standing there, he'd come over and start talking, start chatting. He always, like I say, he was a very comfortable person to be around, and he made you feel very welcome. And he had a way of turning ordinary events into memories, right? And those will be cherished even more deeply now that he's gone from here. And so though his journey was brief, his impact was everlasting. And the love he gave will not disappear. It will live on in the lives that he touched, in the stories that we will share, and in the way that we ourselves will carry forward his goodness, which he showed us. And we will again share about that here today. Now remember, grief is because you love. And that grief you're feeling reminds you of how deeply you loved him. And that love will never disappear. Right?
I didn't see all these people walk in. I'm so glad you're here. You take a moment, just pray with me. Creator of all life, gentle presence who holds us in both joy and sorrow. We come before you today with heavy hearts, carrying grief, love, questions, and memories all at once. Draw near to us in this space, sit with us in our sadness, and hold us in our remembering. When words are hard to find, be our comfort. When emotions feel overwhelming, be our steady ground. When silence falls, let it be filled with your peace. We do not come today with answers, but we come with love. Love for Jonathan, love for one another, and love that does not end even in death. Surround this family with tenderness. Wrap them in care that continues long after today. Help us honor Jonathan, not only with our words, but our presence, our compassion, and the way we carry his spirit forward. May this be a space where tears are welcome, where laughter can return, and where every memory shared becomes a light in the darkness. Stay with us now in every breath, every word, and every quiet moment. Amen. So today we gather not only in grief, but in deep gratitude to celebrate the life of Jonathan Brookshire. A life, though far too short, was full of meaning, connection, and love. Jonathan touched each of us in ways that are personal and lasting. And so today we take time to pause, to remember, to reflect, and to honor a life that mattered deeply. There is something especially difficult about saying goodbye to somebody so young. There are moments like this when words feel too small and the loss feels too large. And yet, even here, we can hold those two truths at once. We grieve deeply because we loved deeply. And that love has not gone anywhere. Jonathan has been described as someone full of generosity and kindness and warmth. Someone who showed up when there was a need. Someone who gave himself without hesitation. He was a steady presence, a prayer partner with mentors, as well as a mentor to many over the years. He carried a gentleness about him, not just in who he was, but how he moved through the world. And Jonathan was tall. So tall that you noticed it right away. But what stayed with you wasn't his height, it was his tenderness. Every time we greeted each other, he would gently lean down, way down, and give me a hug, hello and goodbye. Not out of obligation, not out of routine, but because he truly cared. There was something very sincere in that, something soft, something intentional, and full of heart. He was lovely like that. There are also moments that reflect the joy he carried, the kind of joy that stays with you. One of those was when he bought his brand new car. That was a big moment for him, one he was so proud of. And he didn't keep that excitement to himself. I remember he brought it over to his aunt's house, wanting to show it off, and he wanted you to go for a ride. That's okay. But he wanted to share that joy with people he loved. And I'm sure he made the rounds to everybody else. But you could just feel how much it meant to him, right? It wasn't just the car. It was the moment, the accomplishment, the pride. It was one of those simple, beautiful snapshots of life where happiness is shared and connection is even more meaningful. Jonathan also had a remarkable way with the children. He didn't just interact with them. He saw them. He would play with them. He would meet them where they were, and he would make them feel important. In a world that typically rushes right past them, Jonathan would slow down. He gave them his attention, his presence, and his kindness. And in doing so, he gave them something lasting, and that is feeling valued. of being noticed, of being cared for. That kind of gentleness, that kind of intentional love, it leaves a mark. I had someone share this with me. I remember Jonathan with such fondness when I think of our 2018 mission trip to Texas City, Texas. He was the only male, the only youth, and yet he seemed very comfortable with all of us older ladies. He installed installation, helped us build a fence, and was tech savvy enough to set the timer for our group photo. In the evenings, he had us playing poker as he had just recently learned how and came prepared with cards and chips. What a sweet, endearing young man. And to another, they said, he will always be remembered as that blue-eyed, freckled boy who could make you giggle without even trying. That image, that feeling, that lightness he brought into the room, that is part of his legacy. One of the most beautiful sentiments that was shared about Jonathan was this: I see your sweet soul riding off into the sunset of heavenly eternity. And there was a beautiful picture of him riding his bike with a sunset. Yeah. There is something deeply peaceful in that image, a sense of freedom, a sense of rest, of a journey continuing in a new way. Jonathan was a brilliant young man. He had an incredible gift for music, able to hear a song and play it, to take it where he felt and turn it into a sound. He didn't just play music, he created it. He shared that gift right here in this church, playing alongside Chessa, bringing something meaningful and beautiful into this very space. Music was one of the ways he connected, one of the ways he gave. Jonathan was also thoughtful and driven. He designed a website for the campers completely from scratch. Talk about brilliant. Oh my gosh. Something that took his time, his energy, and his heart. And he didn't just start it, he committed to it. He worked tirelessly, pouring himself into every little detail. And alongside him was his Aunt Luann, sharing in that vision, supporting the work. And together they created something meaningful, a reflection of teamwork, creativity, and love. I can remember the first time I met Jonathan. All the family went to Wake Island. Oh my gosh. There was excitement everywhere. There was energy. There was laughter. If nobody's been to Wake Island, you have to go. It's an experience. But he was completely in his element. He was alive and joyful and present. It was one of those moments that just stay with you because you could feel who he was in that moment. It's been shared that Jonathan loved the water. He loved spending time with his friends at Folsom Lake and Lake Tahoe. There's something about water, the way it moves, how it reflects light, and how it brings people together. And in many ways, that feels like Jonathan. He brought life, he brought connection, he brought moments that mattered. In this space of remembrance, may we find comfort in one another, strength in the love that surrounds us, and peace in knowing that a life like Jonathan's does not simply disappear. It continues in the stories we tell, in the laughter, in the ways we choose to remember, in the ways we choose to love one another, moving forward. So we honor Jonathan not only in our words today, but how we live. By showing kindness when it's needed, by being present for one another, by choosing compassion, even in the hard moments. And in doing so, we carry a part of him with us. Now, I know the family is deeply grateful for each and every one of you and your presence here. But as you leave this space, I gently encourage you, please continue to check in with them. Not just today, not just this week, but in the weeks ahead, in the months ahead. Because grief doesn't follow a schedule. It is not linear. There will be quiet days and unexpected waves, moments when the world feels very different. And in those moments, community matters. Even a simple message, a call, a visit, a text, a check-in, a Facebook message can be a reminder you are not alone. And that reminder can mean everything. I'm going to leave you with this poem. It's called He Is Gone by David Harkins. You can shed tears that he is gone, or you can smile because he lived. You can choose to close your eyes and pray that he will come back, or you can open your eyes and see all that he has left. Your heart can be empty because you can't see him, or you can be full of the love that you shared. You can turn your back on tomorrow and live in yesterday, or you can be happy tomorrow because of yesterday. You can remember him and only that he is gone, or you can cherish his memory and live on. You can cry and close your mind, be empty and turn your back. Or you can do what he would want. Smile, open your eyes, love, and go on. In gratitude and in memory and in love, may we hold these moments today and always. Thank you.
So now we're going to share some memories about Jonathan. And Karen, would you like to start? Yep. Okay.
Oh my goodness, it's beautiful. The sea of red is just so heartwarming. In case you don't know, I am Jonathan's mother, and every single one of you here, I am so grateful for all of the comments that have come through, all of the memories, just showing me how amazing Jonathan truly was and how many people he just spread his light to. You know, as Renee had said, you know, that was who he was. And, you know, I mean, just look around at everyone who is here. These are the people he touched. And, you know, I know everyone has very fond memories of him, but as his mother, you know, I tried to do my best with him, but he was so full of life. He had so many dreams and ambitions, and, you know, you can only do so much with that. And, but I'm so glad that he shared his life with you, and he had experiences with you, and that you guys helped shape him into the young man he was. So from my heart, I appreciate every single one of you here and in this space and out in the world. So my gratitude to all of you. I wanted to say thank you.
Little short here, but see where Jonathan gets from. I'm Jonathan's dad, of course, and he was such an extraordinary young man. I'm so proud of him in so many ways as my son. He was so gifted, so brilliant, and we did so much together. We had so many of the same hobbies. We both loved Starfield. We both loved Minecraft, survival craft, building traps, trying to one-up each other. Jonathan never took a single hobby or a single passion of his that he did not carry to the extreme. He always had to have the very best or the very most intense, whether it be mountain biking, anything like that. It always had to be the most extreme. But Jonathan taught me something about perspective, and I'm a passionate photographer. I go out, chase storms, shoot eclipses, and I took a close-up shot and I thought, oh, this is amazing. But Jonathan taught me something about perspective that I did not see and I truly missed. He took a photo that actually captured totality of the sun and the planet Venus and the darkness of the lake as the moon is in front of the sun covering it. But deeper on the horizon in the same shot, you could see where the sun is regularly supposed to be shining. And in that, he taught me that you can't have both. You can't get a close-up shot, get the flares of totality as I was doing, and you still can't get everything else, see what's going on around. He showed that you can only do one or the other, and I really appreciated that. And I was emailing back and forth. It was so incredible to me how he carried out and said, wow, you really taught me something about perspective. And I do this all the time, and it's like, wow, and so brilliant. And I remember the first time he beat me in a game of chess, and it was not a simple like, okay, I put my queen over here accidentally, he took it, oh, my mistake. It was nothing like that. I didn't make mistakes like that. He saw a weakness I left in the center, put a knight strategically very deep in the center and had control of it. And it's as if that knight painted targets on what should be attacked next. And for the first time that I had ever seen Jonathan coordinated all the pieces he had together, the rook, the bishops and everything, and was pointing him at the two weak areas that knight was telling, hey, attack this, attack this. And I said, I'm not going to give up to you. I'm not going to let him win. It's like, I think I can get a draw out of this. If I can just last just a little while longer, maybe I can draw this, maybe. But sure enough, slowly but surely, he just broke and eroded away those defenses until he tore open the center. And then he finally said, and you know that famous voice Jonathan says, Dad, guess what? Checkmate. Finally. After all these years, but I'm not even missing him. He's so much talent. And I bragged to friends at work. I would take his newest songs and just wanted to see the expression in their eyes the first time they could hear him play something. I just loved to watch that reaction in people because he had such a gift for the music that he played. It was beautiful. And honestly, I'm going to miss so much about him. I mean, I'm so proud to have him as a son. So, thank you.
Thank you, Widow Whip. So, when Jonathan was even though I had a lot of memories of him and stuff, but when he showed, the first time when he showed me his gigantic mansion of massiveness, I thought that really looked really cool, and I got so amazed that amazed how awesome he did that, and in my mind wow, that took for ever and ever. How did he even do that in the first place? And when he showed me the ship in Starfield, I thought that he would keep working on that, but Jonathan was just basically he was my bestest family member, and I know he was always my friend, and yeah, so and Julia always called him big guy because how tall he was. So yeah, I know Julia. But the day I heard that he died in a car crash, I didn't feel so right, and I just miss him, but he's up there now and probably watching us right now, as well as Papa, Nana, Coda, Maya, all of our family members that we used to have. I never saw Nana, but if I did, she would probably like me. But Jonathan, he was too young to die. And yeah, so that's why this bunny I named Jonathan, because it will remind me of any time I feel like I need him. I always squeeze this bunny. So yeah. But I just love Jonathan so much. I just wish he would stay alive for, ever, but I guess not. Well, time for somebody else to do it.
Come on up. Do you want to come up here?
Hello, I'm Lucas. I'm Jonathan's best friend. And when I first met Jonathan, he always wore bright blue pants and a green polo shirt. And to be honest with you, I was like, this guy's gotta be my best friend. And I swear he wore that t-shirt almost all through high school and maybe middle school. But, we've always gotten to, same as what his dad says, we always got into chess, and he's always taught me all types of stuff, whether it be chess, whether it be stupid things like how to read a tape measure and stuff, and just stupid stuff like that. Or he even taught me how to drive, which is kind of crazy. But to be honest with you, I think Jonathan has touched all of our lives. I mean, he's definitely taught us a lot of lessons, and honestly, if it weren't for him, I think I would be in a lot worse place. So I got to thank Jonathan for what he's done for me, what he's taught me, and what he can teach everybody else too, you know. But it's good to see everybody here, you know, show their gratitude and stuff, and you know, just all the love that he's shown all of us, you know. Well, anyways, that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Hello. I met Jonathan for the first time last year. He was helping us, he was the muscle helping us get ready for coffee hour. And he and I bonded over our vehicles, both manual transmissions. How much we love driving them, how much automatics were boring. And we just kept going from there. It was like a nephew to me. During our greeting during service, I would walk over, make sure he saw me first, give him a sock in the arm, and then he would bend over and hug me. But yes, I would truly miss him. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Phoebe Lou. I met Jonathan, I think, in about 2020 or 2019 online. We were friends for a few years. We actually dated in 2022. I think I was his first girlfriend. And we kind of lost touch for a little bit, but we always, you know, we're still friends on social media, even though things didn't work out romantically between us. He was just a good friend, always, and all of my friends loved him, my family loved him, they were always happy to have him around, and I hear everybody, you know, talking about how gentle he was, and he really was such a sweet, sweet man, one of the kindest men I've ever known, honestly, and in addition to that, though, he was fierce. Whenever there was somebody who he felt like was doing me wrong or that was getting in the way of my dreams, he'd get upset. He'd be like, what can I do about it? What are we gonna do? You want me to talk to him? You know, he was very fierce and very loving in the fiercest way. And he was strong for me when I was not. He was a wonderful guy, and I have some just incredible memories of him, of traveling with him, and you know, just getting to admire cars together. And when he brought his new car over to my house for the first time, and he goes, "You need to drive it. You need to drive it. You're the reason I love manual cars so much. Like, let's go for a ride." He's so just fun, just full of life, just was happy to be wherever he was. And I'm so grateful for the memories I got to have with him and the time I got to spend with him, and just so grateful for every smile I ever got to share with him. He was such a sweetheart.
Julia and I knew Jonathan from family. I consider them my family, you know? So Jonathan was like a nephew, I feel, to me, and almost like a brother to Julia. He would, on Halloween, when she was little, would cart him around in a cart. And they went house to house, and he would pull that cart up the driveways and down the driveways and knock on the door and help her get her treats. And he was the best chauffeur for her, you know. He always had a smile. Everybody's always saying that. He's always had a great big smile and a big hug for all of us when we came in. Yeah? Yeah. We were there when he bought his car and came in. As I said, he came in and he's got the keys, and I was like, oh my God, you got to come out and look at it. We had to go out and look at it. And then the next time we were over at Luann's house, Julia wanted to know where the tall boy was with the car. Where's the tall boy with the car? And we could not think of what she was talking about. We totally went blank. It was Jonathan, yeah. And we were on our way home, and it popped into my head. She meant Jonathan because she wanted Jonathan to come over and play. You know, they'd sit there and they'd play. When we found out the news, very heartbreaking. And I think I cried all day Saturday. And Julia came over to me and she told me, breathe, Mama. And then she told me he's in heaven and he's in our hearts, so we won't ever have to forget him. And it just helped me out so much, knowing that. And she even said it this morning when we got here to church. She said, Mama, he's here with us. He's here in our hearts. And I just want everybody to remember that. He is here with us. Thanks.
I really love how much this car is playing into everyone's memories, because tell me why. All right, so let's go back to 2024. So I met him in the fall of 2024, and it was after a church service, and I just finished playing the postlude and wrapped up the music. And this very tall, lanky dude with bad posture comes through. He didn't stand up straight, but anyway, I think probably it was because he was used to having to duck under doorways. And he comes up to me and just starts talking to me with so much confidence. And I was so baffled. I was like, hi, like, hello? And he starts talking about, yeah, I love your music. And, you know, I have this duet that I've been meaning to play. And so that recording that was on the montage was from that day. And I didn't know that was recorded, so I'd really love a copy of that. But the first thing I thought was, oh my gosh, this is the embodiment of a golden retriever. On TikTok, they were having discourses about a golden retriever man and a black cat man. This was the golden retriever man. And I was like, okay. And so we ended up doing the duet. And then he starts talking about his car, because he loved that car, I'm telling you. And when he starts talking about that car, I was like, oh yeah, he had to mention it was a stick shift, okay? He had to mention it. And I was like, okay, well, I've never driven a stick. You know, I drive an automatic. And tell me why his first thing was to say, well, I'll teach you. You know, I'll give you a ride and I'll teach you. I'm like, no. I don't know you. Like, no, I'm not getting in your car. And then later it was mountain biking. Oh, we should totally go mountain biking. I'm like, no, I'm not going into the woods with you either. Like this, see what I mean? Golden retriever. So sweet, little clueless. But I have to say, I love that about him. I'm just saying, like, golden retriever. And you know what? And we sparred at it too, because he would argue with me about music. And I'm like, with what degree? But anyway, it was all love and all jokes. And I was telling people that this is the first memorial service, because, you know, me being a church musician, this is what I do. I look out and I see this, and I've seen this, seems like 1,000 times, to see people come and pay their respects, and I play my music, But today is the first time where I feel a hit, where I feel the weight of the music I'm playing and the music I've chosen. And even though I am angry, I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm all over the place, you know, it's a mess, and that's okay. But I also was talking to somebody, I think it was my sister, and I was on my way to a concert, because you know what, let's turn it up for a little bit of music, because he also liked concerts. I saw that on his Instagram. And I was telling her, I was like, you know what, I may be angry that he's gone, but I am grateful that he taught me just how much a life can mean to the people around you. Because, you know, I've been in pretty dark places myself. We would talk about our mental issues because he had them. He had all sorts of mental illnesses, and I knew about them, and we ain't gonna get into all those details, but what I will say is, you know, in my darkest places, I used to think, well, who's gonna miss me when I'm gone? Who's gonna notice when I'm gone? So I'm grateful that I now know what that answer is. Because I'm looking at all of you and I see how much one person meant to all of us. And so I'm grateful that I do have that answer. And that even if I ever end up in dark places again, it ain't never gonna get that dark, because I ain't never gonna let it get that dark. Because I never want to do this to somebody, not unless I have no choice. And so it's good for all of us to remember how fleeting that life can be, how special, how precious, and how you need to make the most of every moment that you got, because we really don't know how much longer we got left on that clock. Thank you, Jonathan.
Oh, wow, there are a lot of people here. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. Our CGC camping community, which stands for Community of the Great Commission, has suffered a tragic loss. A beautiful, sweet life flew away too soon. So many plans and dreams left unlived. Your kind heart has touched the souls of so many. The ripples will continue forever. Thank you for blessing us with your whole self, Jonathan. My name is Paige Beach Hall, and I work with the youth and young adult ministries through Northern California and beyond. Ooh. I'm so very honored to have you in my life, for choosing me as your prayer partner, and for allowing me to be your trusted mentor for so many years. I am so honored. May your wings fly faster than any custom-built bicycle, and faster than that sweet ride of yours. Hopefully faster than you took me for a spin around the block. Sorry, I'm shaking. May mosquitoes and campfire smoke never annihilate you again. May you join the table of Dungeons and Dragons, Eternal Edition. May every night be Fortnite. May you dominate the poker tables like you dominated camp and taught all of my youth how to play poker. But they didn't gamble, so it's okay. He played with rocks, which was quite ingenious. May God's white light fill your eternal soul with peace and comfort and hopefully a bunch of corny jokes. Until we meet again, be of servant's mind and of warrior's heart. I love you dearly, Jonathan Brookshire. Jonathan was very interested in taking his vacation time this year to come work at the camp. He wanted to know the back side of that. It wouldn't be a week, it'd probably be 3 days, but he wanted all the ins. He wanted to know how to serve people, how to clean up after people, and to be of service. Thank you for being security at our lock-ins. Your height is very intimidating, especially to the kids. Thank you. All you had to do was look at them. He was working with me on our young adults calendar for the upcoming year. One of his biggest favorite things that we will do this year is go to the drive-ins because he wanted to know how many kids couldn't drive yet. He wanted to take them in his car. And if I would take all the chairs so they didn't have to sit in his car and probably eat in there. He wanted to go to the races, and I said, that's really expensive, and I don't think anyone loves it as much as you and I. All we did was talk shop. I'm a gearhead. I grew up in a car shop with my dad, and so we always talked about rides, and automatic transmissions just are so boring. I am honored that my life is down this path with these youth and young adults, because they're all youth, and then they become the young adult. That whole body. It was such exhilaration to see Jonathan at the camp. For the first time, they had just moved to California, so he only got 1 year. But he walked around and cried. Are you okay? He was so enlightened and so accepted and so free. And that's the goal. To be present in your own body, to know your strength, and to know what love you radiate. We had a meeting at my house this week and made something for Karen. So if our youth and young adult can please stand up, wherever Jessa went. Jessa, and I see more throughout there. This is for Karen. We've made you a red, loving blanket made with love knots so you can hold it all the time and he can hold you back. So we would like to present this to you. Thank you for sharing Jonathan with us and creating a soul that is so loving. And it hurts so bad because he is so kind, and I can't picture anything bad going on with that guy, right? He was a subtle chaos in that, and I love that. So thank you for standing and joining and being with us here today. For all the youth and young adults that are online watching, you are loved, you are here in presence. Most of our youth are at college, young adults, and are away this time. So please know that you are in this room with us. Amen.
My name is Jared. I first, if I can readjust this. Thank you. I went to high school with Jonathan. I was a junior. He was a grade below me, but he had just moved to California, and me, Lucas, Jonathan, and our friend Charlie were all put into various classes together, and we all bonded over our just love for music, our love for playing music. Like, Jonathan was a piano player, me and Lucas were drummers, Charlie was a guitar player, and then like Lucas and his family gave all of us like nicknames, and there's like stories behind these nicknames. Like, Jonathan was Texas, and Charlie was Chex Mix, and there was a bit of a story I'll have to get into another time, but I was Ribcage Kid, and we were all like known by these nicknames in our group and stuff. But Jonathan was arguably the best piano player I've ever heard on planet Earth. He was like, I can't even put into words how skilled he was at that instrument. Like listening to his compositions and covers and all that stuff is like, I wish I could play piano that well. And but we saw each other like every day in high school, and we just always had something to talk about with music, whether it be like just original music or Linkin Park or whatever. And then I remember one time I walked into Guitar Center just to buy some sticks, and I ended up running into Lucas and Jonathan, more like they ran into me. I was just looking at sticks, and I just hear, "Hey, look, it's Jared!" And I turn around, and it's Lucas and Jonathan, and I think that was and I just remember my mom was with me, and Jonathan like dragged both of us into the piano room just so he could play What I've Done by Linkin Park to my mom, because she knew the song because of the movie Transformers. My family is a big fan of that movie. And but yeah, I looked a lot different in high school. I was much skinnier, and I had short hair and all this stuff. And I remember like the first time I saw Jonathan after high school, I looked like this, and he was just completely blown away by my new appearance. He's like, "What happened to you?" And I'm like, "I got old." And like, and then, but then COVID happened, and I haven't really seen him since. And we've been meaning to get together again since then, and it just didn't happen, and I'm gonna unfortunately regret that for the rest of my life. But Jonathan was one of a kind, like someone I will never forget. And like, I'm thankful that he let me be a part of his life. And I love you, Jonathan. I'll see you again someday, like in the distant future, because I still have a lot to do myself, but I'll see you again someday, Jonathan. And thank you all for letting me share these stories about him. And yeah.
Hey, I'm Charlie. I did not get the memo that we had to wear red, so my bad. Man, what to say about Jonathan? You know, I was a junior, he was a sophomore when I met him. The thing is, you know, he's one of the few friends of mine who, like me, is also on the autism spectrum, like Jared too. And you know, I've made many friends in my life, but, you know, whenever I make friends with someone who is neurodivergent, or specifically someone who's on the spectrum, you feel a bond you just don't feel with neurotypicals, respectfully. And, you know, me, Jonathan, and Lucas, when we were in high school, we actually formed a band, and we called it Undercover Modesty. Yeah, because, you know, him and I both dressed very modestly, and we both thought Lucas was very humble considering his drumming skills. So we called it Undercover Modesty. When Lucas called me and told me that he passed, I remembered this one thing he told me my senior year. And during my senior year, I was having very bad depression, and you know, I'm not gonna lie, I definitely wished I wasn't alive. And you know, and he he said something to me along the lines of this: "Charlie, I want to see you at your graduation, not your funeral." And I just find it ironic and surreal that the one person who told me that I'm ironically at his funeral. It just feels surreal. It's just a very textbook example of irony. But, you know, he was absolutely a one of a kind. He definitely was unlike any piano player I've met. When I was in church, I thought my pastor's wife was an incredible piano player, but he absolutely put her to shame. She probably, if she ever met him, man, I don't know what she would have done. But I really regret not staying in touch with him after high school. Because I don't know if you remember this, but he stayed the night at my house once, me, him, and Lucas. And, you know, we had this really fun jam session at Lucas's house. Then we went over to my house, and my mom's boyfriend had his musician friends over. They were doing a little jam session, and we came along and kind of moseyed on in and started jamming with them. And I remember my mom's boyfriend's friends especially, definitely, like, they heavily played percussion on top of what Jonathan was playing. And I felt very proud of the fact that I got to introduce one of my musician friends to other more well-seasoned musicians. But yeah, I really wish I got back in touch with him. We didn't stay in touch after high school, but even though we lost touch, I never meant him any ill will. I always wished him the best. We were hoping to see each other again soon, but then I found out right before I had to take my history midterm that he passed, and I luckily powered on through the midterm, but it definitely hit me like a pile of bricks. I simply could not rehearse in band class the next day. I just couldn't. I'll be honest, I don't know what happens after we die, but, you know, all I can say is this, you know, there's these words. I don't know if anybody saw the movie Temple Grandin. Anybody heard of her? Okay, good. You know, I remember Temple in the movie, she witnessed a horse she really loved passes, and the teacher next to her tells her, you know, when the people we love, that when they die, they stay with us in our minds. And so it's best for you not to remember Chestnut like this. That was the horse's name. You know, and so from learning from that, I just hope that I will continue to remember all the good memories we had where we jammed together. We had a very cheesy band name. And I'm just I will never forget my friends on the spectrum. I can never forget them, because each of them are just the most unique person I know, and Jonathan especially. I'm sorry for rambling so long, but that's all I had to say. Thank you so much for listening.
Hey everyone. I remember one of the first times I spent a lot of time with Jonathan was the 2017 Youth Fall Fest in Pacific Grove. Wonderful trip. He was a real joy to be around. It's kind of funny. I look back to that trip, and it was a long time ago, but I don't really remember any time where he wasn't smiling. That whole time he had this big iconic grin on his face. And I remember he carpooled with my family. On the drive back, we stopped for food, and I guess he was just really excited for some fast food, because He was standing there out loud thinking, what should I order? Oh, maybe the number 1, but the number 7 sounds good. He was just seemed really excited to get some fast food. And my mom says, you have to say everything on your mind. He looks at her with a huge smile on his face and says, yep, I do. To him, even the most mundane or normal task was just a blast, because I think he just loved being around people like that. Just the simplest task, the most everyday thing was an adventure for him. Just because he loved being around people, he just brought that light. And being around him, as you all know, was an adventure for us too. We all miss you, man.
Hi, I'm his Aunt Luann. He never called me Aunt, though. I was just Lou. I remember once when he was little, he was at preschool or something, and somebody asked who was that, because I was picking him up, and he just goes, that's my Lou. So when he was little, he was obsessed with things that spun. Like, he would spin things. Like, he could sit for an hour spinning the wheel of a fan, just watching it. If you walked into a room and there was like an office chair, he would walk right over to it and spin it. And anything that had a flashing red light, he like had to know what that was for. And so it was just a lot of the stuff with his neurodivergent stuff that he went through, that he grew out of it. He's no longer spinning things all the time, but he still would get things that he was obsessed with. Like, so the stick shift, I drove a manual transmission, and every time he rode in my car, he would ask about, and I'd explain to him what I was doing. And when he was little, I would sometimes tell him, okay, shift it into this gear. And I would let him do the shifting while I was doing the clutch and stuff. So eventually, when he got his driver's license, he had me take him out and drive my car so he could learn the stick shift. So it was no surprise when he finally got one that was a manual, because he was just obsessed with being able to drive the more fun car. But there was just a lot of things that it was just fun, interesting to spend time with Jonathan about. I think his favorite movie was Interstellar. We always talked about that, and they had a re-release for its 10th anniversary or something at the IMAX. So I bought tickets for us, and we went to see that. And then the whole way home, we just discussed astrophysics, and I can't think of another person I could sit in the car for that long and just discuss astrophysics with. But you know, if he was interested in something, he'd learn about it, and then he could discuss it. He was, David had the picture of him with the lasers. We would go up for his birthday every year to see GC, and we'd stay up there for a long weekend. And he would bring the lasers up there and shine them in the trees. And I went last year, Leanne was like, the next morning, they were on the other side of camp, and she's like, was that light in the trees, you guys? I was like, oh yeah, that was Jonathan with his lasers. But it's like, yeah, he just loved that mountain biking. He and Lucas would go out and mountain bike, and he'd just come back, or he took his Uncle Tristan out when we were up in Tahoe for a week once, and out mountain biking. Just loved doing that. He was living with me for a while a few months ago, and he was playing his keyboards, and he was on the phone to Lucas, and he told Lucas he had a new name for a band. So Charlie, his new name for a band was, am I right about this, Lucas? Bears in the Basement? So I don't know, Jared and Charlie, you might have gotten calls, because he was like, maybe we should start a band so we can use that name. So it was just, we went out, and I took him out to rail bike with me out along the river, and the whole time he's explaining the physics of what we're doing, all this stuff. I mean, he was nerdy fun. And there was even times where, like, if there was a TV show he'd like, he'd come over once a week and we'd watch a couple episodes of it. And it was when he was still in high school. Once he got older, he had other things he was doing. But I'm going to miss all the nerdy fun with that kid. So.
All right, come on up.
So if anyone here has met my cousin Jonathan, there was a 99% chance that he would be wearing jeans. It was such a major feature of his that he was soon given the title by my Aunt Lou, the vigilante title of Pants Man. And I soon became his sidekick, Sleeve Boy. And as you can see, that still holds true today. But yeah, I even have a shirt of it. We had a shirt. We should have trademarked it. But yeah, I wish I had it with me today. And as Renee stated earlier, you know, he really, and almost like everybody else here, he really loved his car. I remember, thanks to him, I know how to drive stick shift now. And I remember he was also very eager to take me for a spin and teach me how to drive it on a New Year's Day a couple years ago. And yeah, I wish I had more adventures together with Pants Man and Sleeve Boy.
Hi, I'm also Jonathan's cousin. So Jonathan was always there for family gatherings, and I think I took that for granted sometimes, but he was always there, and I always appreciated the fact that he was so enthusiastic to show me whatever it was he had in his video games, like his base in Terraria or something like that. And I really appreciated that he always tried to take this opportunity to connect with me. And, you know, he was always there, and so you can imagine my surprise when he just wasn't. But, you know, today has just made me think about, like, how is it possible to summarize his life? And I don't think that's possible, you know. I mean, like, no matter how many photos we put up on the screen or how many anecdotes, there's no way to replace his presence. And I think that's just a testament to how much of an impact he had on all of us, you know.
Hi. Oh, wow, there's a lot of people here. I get really nervous on stage. I don't do stages, but in Jonathan's memory, I felt like I really needed to come up here and just speak a few words about him. I got the privilege to know Jonathan for over 3 years. We worked together, and he was such a special person. I'm kind of hardened to death, and it doesn't, but his has really kind of affected me in a way that just reminds me on how special he really was and pure. He's the only person in my life that has ever randomly out of the blue stopped me and told me how awesome I am. And he would say, "Jake, you're the best." And I would say, "No, Johnny, you're the best." And we would go back and forth, and then we'd get back to work. But yeah, it just, even in his death, in his life, he added so much value to mine and my just daily experiences, and just, you know, and even in his death, he's adding value to my days. And yeah, I'm really gonna miss you, Johnny boy. So, thank you.
All righty, so there'll be more opportunity in the fellowship hall, and we're just gonna kind of move on to get ready to go on over there. Go Let us pray. Dear Creator, Jonathan was a masterpiece in progress. And though the work ended too soon, the beauty of what he created remains. Grant us the peace that surpasses all understanding. In the silence of this loss, help us hear the echoes of his joy. When the weight of what might have been feels too heavy to bear, give us the strength to celebrate what was. We pray for a heart that remembers with more love than pain. And may we carry his memory not only in sorrow and smiles, but in the way we choose to live, with kindness, with courage, and with love. And in that way, he is never truly gone. As it says in Revelation 21:4, God will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain. For the old order of things has passed away. May Jonathan rest in not only eternal peace, but in eternal power. Amen.
So for those of you wondering why I have included Phantom of the Opera as a postlude, last Halloween, there was a Sunday that was close to Halloween, and I put together the toccata in D minor and combined it with the Phantom of the Opera theme, and it happened to be a Sunday that he missed. And he was so upset that he didn't get to hear the Phantom of the Opera theme, and so I told him, you have to come back next year, and you have to show up. So this one's for you, Jonathan, and I hope that it helps us all end on a lighter note, and also cover your ears.
you.